Welcome to Demon Life. I am your host, Jeff Santos. Our guest today is the SGA President, John Pierce. Welcome. Thank you for visiting.
Thank you for having me.
What responses do our representatives present toward higher education?
That's an interesting question. There are a lot of them, everything from cutting TOPS completely to funding it at 100%, raising the GPA requirements for students, raising our requirements to maintain TOPS. The solutions are all over the board, and the House and Senate really aren't united on which approach to take, but the upcoming session, starting April 10th, will really decide what approach they plan to take with this.
What are Governor Edwards' thoughts about revenues for higher education in our state?
I know he wants to not have a constitutional amendment to protect higher education so much as he wants a constitutional amendment to unprotect everything else from cuts. Right now, health and education are the only two things that can be cut from the state budget, so those are the two things that take the highest hits. And last year, there were 9 votes between education and healthcare, and education lost all 9 times because no one wants to take money from sick people. So he wants to review the tax structure of our state, and if that fails to produce the revenue that they're looking for, possibly unprotecting everything else in the Constitution from cuts.
How would this impact Northwestern?
Hopefully positively. You never want to see more cuts at the university. Luckily, our leadership team is very solid, and their plan for the next 5 to 10 years looks good, and our revenue looks good, and enrollment's increasing. So hopefully anything that they do will have positive impact, but if it were to have a negative impact, Northwestern has the vision to have already cushioned those blows.
Okay. What's being projected for TOPS, and in your opinion, what will happen with higher ed in the state? I know you talked about a little bit more, but can you explain just more detail?
For this upcoming year, they want to maintain the 70% funded rate that they had for the following year. So they want to maintain the current cut at 100%, if that makes sense. So there are some lawmakers that are celebrating that as a victory because they're maintaining TOPS at 100%, but it's still not where it was. So, and then what happens from there, it's really up in the air right now. You won't have a good idea of what's going to happen, I'd say, till about a week into the session, which is from April 10th to about early May. So everything's up to question right now, but there are some legislators who want to fund it at 100% of its formal level, some that want to cut it even further, and some that want to keep it how it is right now. So it's just, you have to wait and see.
I would assume each university in the state has a SGA representative serving like you. What exactly is your purpose?
Well, singularly at the university level, my purpose is to be the voice and representation of the school to the community, the school itself, events and things like that. I also represent the school at the state and national level. I've been to the state legislature to speak to legislators there, the governor himself, his chief of staff, the treasurer, secretary of state, about our problems that we're experiencing here at Northwestern, and have done the same thing in DC. As a collective, there are about 35 of us because that's the UL system, which is like us, Nichols, McNeese, LSU, Southern, and then technical community schools. So together we make up about 35 students who represent about 215,000 students statewide. And together we form a collective voice, and we use our collective power and our voices to bargain and lobby at the state level.
There has been talk about cutting back programs or institutions in our state. Have any thoughts been expressed about changes?
Changes at the state level, those are always being suggested. It's no secret that we have a unique situation with a Democrat as a governor and a Republican legislator. Republicans are known for wanting to cut, and our governor is doing his best to put the brakes on that, to bargain with them as much as he can, because he really cares about education and healthcare. That's the only 2 things that we're allowed to cut, and those are his biggest passions. So at the state level, there are suggested cuts and there are proposed cuts, but the governor is doing his best to put the brakes on that and find alternative means to fund these programs. Here at the university level, there are our faculty staff are really overworked, and there's always changes to the structure and how we're governing ourselves. We just went through and passed the QEP with our SACS accreditation team that came
Yes.
through for our 5-year plan, and that's going to be implemented. So that's a lot of big changes in and of itself. I wouldn't say anything negative. So
Okay. One last thing. What one thing that really had an impact on you in for our state, for Louisiana, for since you've been SGA president?
Well, a really good positive impact that I've gotten is I've come to appreciate the faculty, staff, and administration at this university because I work with them at a colleague level, and they tell me to call them by their first names, and I get to talk with them and realize all the hard work and everything that they do and how good our university is and how well it compares to other schools in the state. We have things at this school that LSU doesn't have, or Southern, or UL. We're doing some really great things here. And another impact that has happened to me is just it's really opened my eyes as to what happens at the state level, at our legislature, and even at the national level with Congress. Had the opportunity to talk to both bodies, and some of the responses I've gotten from those bodies have been very interesting, sometimes disheartening, but also you see the work that people are putting in, how there are still those people fighting for us, especially here at Northwestern, like the Long family.
Oh, yeah. We talked about, how about for Washington D.C., the national level? What have you gotten the most from Washington D.C.?
As little as you get from the state legislature, you get less at a national level. They're very much interested in big pictures. So whenever you ask about state problems like education, healthcare, and things, they really brush you off. So what I learned is, as far as our state problems are concerned, we probably aren't going to get very much help from the national level. They're just they make it seem like they have bigger concerns. So anything that we need to deal with here, we need to deal with as citizens of Louisiana and count on ourselves and get to work here.
Great. Our guest today has been SGA President John Pierce, and we have been talking about the future of higher education in Louisiana. This is Jeff Santos of NSU TV Demon Life. Thank you for listening.